right now. I think we're a week away, I believe, or a week, maybe 2 weeks away.
One more week. One more week.
We're getting there. I'm in the playoffs and pretty much like guaranteed a playoff spot in all my leagues, all three of my leagues. So
I'm guaranteed in three. I'm fighting in a few of them.
hey, 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 if you didn't make it, I mean, there's no crying in fantasy at that. So you know what I'm saying. Hey, so I figure we get started. Maybe just some starts and sits for each position this week. I know we already had a Thursday night game. Dak Prescott looking good. CD
Yep.
Lamb looking good. But man, let's start with this quarterbacks. Um, who's your start of the week for quarterbacks?
Oh man, this is a tough one. But I'm gonna go off the cuff here, and my start of the week at quarterback is Garner Minshew. Um, I just like the matchup going against Tennessee. Tennessee has been very vulnerable against the pass. I mean, their defense just overall has been vulnerable. Um, I don't I don't see them being able to take away the pass game for the Colts. And with Jonathan Taylor not being there, Zach Moss being back in the fold, we have seen Zach Moss used in the pass game a lot when he was a starting running back, you know, basically at the beginning of the season. So I think Garner has a good game. It's going to lead into one of my other starts, but I think this is the week for Minshew, especially if like you have Lamar Jackson or one of the other quarterbacks that are on bye this week. I think that this is a good matchup that you can exploit. And Garner's always been a gunslinger, so he's going to throw the ball. So that's my start right now.
So, are you expecting a also a Michael Pittman game, or am I being too early on that? We're gonna get to that later.
Yeah, I mean, I have other starts. So yeah, Michael Pittman was one of my starts for this week. If I have Michael Pittman, yeah, I'm firing him up in my lineup. I mean, he's been double digits in PPR just about every week. I think there's only about 1 or 2 weeks where he's been in single digits. So um, they tend to force feed him the ball. We haven't seen a lot of the other wide receivers. I know Josh Downs has been out. He came back last week. Maybe you see Josh Downs pick it up this week. Alec Pierce has just kind of been invisible. They don't really have a tight end that they use. So I think they're going to force feed Michael Pittman. I think you're going to see Zach Moss get involved in the run game. I just think this is a good week for them, being that they're going up against Tennessee. And Tennessee's defense just has been pretty pitiful lately.
For sure, and we'll get into the Colts some more because I'm pretty excited about at the running back position. I know you can already guess it right there, but my quarterback started the week. I'm gonna go with Tua, man. I mean, Washington defense has just been horrible over the last three games, especially defending through the pass. I was looking at the stats earlier, and I'm like, man, they have been pretty god awful. I don't know how Rivera has a job right now. Um, but the, they're no, they're let's see, as far as completions they allow, they're top 10 completions most allowed in the last three games of the season. They were a little bit better at the beginning of the year, but the last three games they've been top 10 allowing the most completions. And then if we're talking about touchdowns, passing touchdowns per game, last three, Washington has been number one, allowing three touchdown passes a game in the last three games. So I mean that's my biggest factor there. That's why I got Tua start of the week, maybe be, maybe the player of the week starting. I'm thinking he's gonna get in between 30 to 40 points. Tyreek Hill's gonna have an absolute field day. I didn't list him on my starting sits only because you're starting Tyreek Hill no matter what.
Right.
Yeah, give me Tua start of the week, and I think it's a no brainer
I like it. I like the two start.
for sure. And then just Washington, man, they've been a real big disappointment. Sam Howell's having a great season, and just you know, you just would have hoped that offense got a chance to shine later in the season, but didn't work out for Washington. I expect Eric Bieniemy to be the new head coach of Washington next year
Yeah, I was also going to say Russell Wilson this week as well. I think
for
that this is
starting him.
I think this is a good week for him, going against Houston, and just to see the progress that that team has been making over the last couple of weeks. I think they're undefeated over the last 6 weeks. Um, they're getting Cortland Sutton involved. I would like to see Jerry Judy get a little bit more involved, but it just seems like they're phasing him out of the offense right now. But Russ has looked pretty good, man. He's looking like the old Russ right now. So I think he's a decent start this week as well.
For sure, and I kind of like Javante in that one. Uh, I'm totally glad I got Javante back in one of my leagues. He's been coming in clutch lately. But I'm gonna go ahead and go into my quarterback sit of the week. I'm gonna go with Baker, which not a lot of people would choose the player that's going up against Carolina because Carolina sucks. But defensively, they actually have been one of the better pass defenses in the league, which is actually surprising. So for how bad that team is, Baker, I think he's coming off of a 2-3 touchdown performance last week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think he gets 2 touchdowns. He'd be lucky to get 1, um, and I don't see any big yardage from Baker. I think it's gonna be a very low scoring game.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Baker was one of my sits as well. So
On the
we're
same
all,
page. Yeah.
yeah, we're aligned right there. My sit, and this may come as a shock, is Justin Herbert this week.
Nope.
Um,
I don't think it's a shocker at all. I was gonna go with him, maybe possibly.
yeah, going into New England, um, you know, like the West Coast teams going on to the East Coast have trouble. Um, he's down receivers, so down Mike Williams. I don't know if Josh Palmer's on IR.
Mhm.
It just has not looked good
Quentin
for the
Johnson
Chargers.
sucks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just has not looked good, and his defense isn't really helping him as well. So it's like I don't see this being a solid game for them. I actually think that they may lose this game on the road,
It's possible.
to this New England team. So I got Justin Herbert as a sit. It seems like only Keenan Allen is the main target right now. I mean, Austin Eckler has been involved, but he's been kind of mediocre right now. He hasn't been the
Yeah.
first round pick that you drafted him to be. So I got Justin Herbert as a sit.
No, I absolutely. I almost went with him, so I think that's a good sit for sure. Um, you know, you might not want to start sit Herbert because it's Justin Herbert, but it's just like you know I sat Patrick Mahomes last week and it benefited me because I had a better quarterback in C.J. Stroud last week, so I was like, don't be afraid to sit the big name guys. If you have somebody you know is on the bench that is a better start that week, doesn't necessarily I have to start C.J. Stroud this week now. I can keep flip flopping, ride the hot hand or whatever. But don't be afraid to sit Justin Herbert if you have a better option. You know.
Especially if it's like crunch time for you right now and you're trying to make the playoffs. If
Yep.
you know that the matchup isn't good, and the player just hasn't been performing up to the potential that you drafted him to be, there's a time where you have to cut the cord and just kind of move on, to a different player at that point. If you have somebody on your bench that's serviceable, that has a good matchup, why not use that player, this week if you're trying to make the playoffs? I know everybody likes Justin Herbert, stat man, glorified stat man, but I do not like this matchup. And if it's raining in New England, it's going to get ugly. It's going to turn into a straight run game.
Yeah, I agree. Um, so running back starts and sits here. Do you want to go first with that one or?
Yeah, let me go first. My running back was easy. I'm going to move him because I know it's your running back. Um,
Yeah,
so I'm going to go with Devin Singletary. Um,
He's
I just like
performing
what I've
really good.
seen. Damian Pierce has not been, um, you know, the player that you drafted him to be. He was injured, still kind of working his way back from that injury, and it seems like they kind of favor Devin Singletary in that offense right now. He's been double digits the last 3 weeks.
Yep.
They're going against a Denver defense that, yes, has been better over the last few weeks, but they are still the worst team against the run. They are a little bit better against the pass. Um, I think that you're going to see a heavy dosage of Devin Singletary in this game, not only on the ground but in the air as they look to expand, outside of just their run game and utilize their running backs in the pass game as well. I think Devin Singletary is a solid play this week. He should be at least in your flex spot.
No, I agree, and I picked up Devin Singletary in one of my leagues, and he has been clutch for me. You're right; he does fits that offense a lot better than Damian Pierce, which you would think Damian Pierce would actually fit, but I'm guessing Pierce seems to fit more of the bruising role. Singletary, he could start every down, So, like I said, I've been riding off the success off of Singletary lately. Um, and then, like you just said, we like the matchup, Denver. He's going to at least get, I would say, 10 attempts to
Yeah,
rush, So I didn't look at how many touchdowns they give up rushing wise. I can look that up right now. Denver is last three games, they give up about a touchdown, rushing touchdown a game. So I think
yeah,
there is definitely opportunity there for Singletary for sure.
yeah. Like I
Um,
said, they've been a little bit better than they were in the beginning of the season, but there's still opportunity there, as an opposing running back.
for sure. Um, man, all right. So you know who I'm going with,
I already
Zach
know.
Moss. I'm ready for him to be back. He's gonna save my team here. I was a playoff team already, but with JT possibly out 2 to 3 weeks, I wouldn't be surprised if he's out for the rest of the year. Um, I think Zach Moss will be back to where he left off when he was a starter originally, before JT even touched the ground. And I think he's going to finish the year as a top 10 running back in fantasy.
Wow.
If JT stays out for the rest of the year, because that's just how good Zach Moss has been. I mean, heck, I can look it up right now. I kind of want to see where he still is as far as points. He
I
might
think he's
even
top. I think he's top 15. So it's not, you know, irrational to say that he's going to be top 10.
right. I think he is.
I think he's top
Um,
15.
he's right outside. He's 22 now. He dropped down to 22.
Okay.
But the thing is, he did have a little bit more workload last week, obviously, because you know Justin Taylor, not Justin, Jonathan Taylor got hurt. So I mean, they immediately gave the ball in Zach Moss's hands, and you know I know they may be playing against a tough matchup in Tennessee, because Tennessee is a solid rushing defense. But the thing is, Tennessee offensively is horrible. So this is going to be a running game, in my opinion. There's going to be a lot of rushing attempts, and I think Zach Moss is going to at least get one touchdown at the very least. So, yeah, Zach Moss started the week. He might be my start of the week even next week. We'll see, because I'm pretty high on Zach Moss.
Yeah, I like both running backs in this game. I like Derrick Henry too. Um,
Yep,
I
yep,
think
yep.
this is a huge Derrick Henry game. Um, yeah, I agree with you, and I think Zach Moss is going to be Zach Moss, the Zach Moss that we saw in the beginning of the season. I think they're going to utilize him heavily, both in the run game and in the pass game, which we didn't see Buffalo do at all. So it's like different to see Zach Moss this season actually be like a competent running back than what he was before.
He had about
Um,
7 yards per carry last week on 8 attempts.
yeah,
I mean,
so he's killing right now. Um, I hope that JT comes back. I traded a first round pick for JT. But
I
here's
tr-
the thing. I had Zach Moss as my handcuff. So
okay.
So I'm not hurting that bad, but still, it's like JT is a dynamic player, and we saw that when he was on the field. He was just absolutely demolishing teams the last couple of weeks. So you hope that he does come back. I know for you, you don't hope that he comes back, but I hope he comes back.
Well, I do have. So it would be bittersweet because, like, in one league I do have Jonathan Taylor. So and I don't have Sack Moss, so that does kind of hurt me. So, but like I said, in the other league, I desperately need a running back. So I kind of want Sack Moss the most because
Yeah,
I still kind of have a replacement. Hey, shout out to Charbonnet. You know, I had him out as a handcuff because I had Kenneth Walker, 16 points, man.
he had a
I'm
solid
glad I
day
got that out
yesterday.
of him. Don't- if you got a running back, a starting running back, don't be afraid to pick up his backup. Because I picked up Shamaje Piron because I have Javante, and I've been starting Javante. So I mean, sometimes these backups would produce the same level of production fantasy wise as the starters in front of them. Sometimes,
Yeah, every league that I have Christian McCaffrey, I have Elijah Mitchell. I
right,
can't go without Elijah Mitchell, and I don't care if he never sees my lineup. But it's just the fact that if Christian McCaffrey goes down, he's a high value running back that you want in your lineup because he's
right.
startable every week.
I got Josh Kelly and Austin Eckler. So I mean, I yeah. So I don't be afraid to pick up them backups. We're throwing out tips here for y'all. Uh, but I'm gonna go ahead and get into my sit here. Brian Robinson. It's gonna be a sit for me this week. And it's surprisingly like I wish I would have never traded him, I guess, because it's crazy to me. He's RB5 of the year, which is I guess he's just been the most consistent. Um, but you're going up against a Miami defense that is pretty damn good against the rush. And if anything, it's going to be a shootout because, Sam Howell is leading, the league in passing yards. You're going up against a high power offense in Miami, which I think is going to torch Washington. So, I mean, I have a feeling Washington's going to be behind the whole game. They're going to be playing catch up. You might get lucky with the receiving with Robinson because he has had some big games receiving wise, and that's why I believe he's RB5 of the year. If you go back 2 weeks ago, he had 6 reception, 119 yards. I don't think that happens this game. So, yeah, I'm sitting Brian Robinson.
That's a shock to me, just because he's been so kind of boom or bust. Like I think over the last 4 weeks, he has 1 week where he's in single digits. Um, 2 of those weeks, he was in the 20-point range. And then he had, I think, 7 receptions 1 week, and I can tell you 6 receptions the week before. So I'm a little conflicted on this one. I understand because they are going up against Miami. Miami is like a top 5 run defense this season.
Right.
But the fact that they've been willing to utilize him in the pass game kind of gives me pause where I would still start him because they are going to be playing from behind. Um, it just seems like they don't like Antonio Gibson like that. Like we
They
probably
don't.
thought that they would in the beginning of the season, as a passing down back. So B Route kind of seems to be that 3 down back that they want to use. So I don't, I wouldn't make him a sit in my opinion, just because I think he's going to be utilized in the pass game, and they probably will be behind in this game.
Yeah, they definitely will be behind. So, I mean, you would be relying on his receiving. So that's what you'd be gambling on. And
Yeah.
honestly, I don't know. Like I would have to look at the stats. That's something that'd be a bigger dive into how much the Dolphins give up receiving wise to running backs. So which it can't be that much if they're not giving up much period when it comes rushing the ball. So I guess they do a good job against running backs period. So I'm not too sure.
It's
Um,
also who they face,
you know,
though, because if they're facing teams that don't pass the ball to the running backs, then the value of the running back is not going to be as high against their defense. So I don't know. Like I understand the sit. I just don't know if I would sit him this week because of how he is involved in the pass game in that offense.
I guess it just depends who you have. You know, if you don't have anybody better, then you got to start them. But if you got somebody like for example, Sack Charbonnet. I don't know. If if we were sitting here right before the Thursday night game, and you know what, if I had to pick between Sack Charbonnet for that Thursday night or Brian Robinson this weekend, I think I would have chose Sack Charbonnet, and
I
I
would
know
have gone
that's
with
kind of
Charbonnet.
yeah, I know that's kind of hindsight, and but I would have chose Charbonnet because
Yeah.
I just know the volume's been there at the running back position with Seattle. Seattle just loves the running back position. They love running the ball. They like to get the running back involved. So,
All right. Well,
uh,
let me give you a comparison here. Um, like a choice: Brian Robinson or Brees Hall this week.
let's see who's Breeze playing up against.
Brees is going against Atlanta, who is the
Atlantis.
worst defense for fantasy running backs.
Let's see. So last three games for Atlanta, they have gave up 29 attempts rushing the ball. Yeah, I mean, I would go Brees Hall for sure. I mean, if,
Okay.
if the attempts are there, I like Brees Hall's attempts over Brian Robinson's attempts, and I think that is a good comparison because I believe Robinson's above Brees Hall for the year, which Brees Hall's been hurt, but I think Brees Hall is the better running back in real life, if that makes sense. So I
Brees,
value
Brees has
Brees Hall.
struggled. Brees has struggled over the last couple of weeks though, and he's having trouble running behind that line. Um,
Well,
that's why I bring this up.
well, let's look at rushing touchdowns. How many rushing touchdowns Atlanta gives up? Um,
Not many.
they give up about one touchdown the last three games for the year. For the year, they actually have been pretty solid. So you are right. For the year,
Yep.
they have been pretty good. But the last three, they have at least given up one rushing touchdown. So I mean, that's something to look at. Um, I
Be-
don't know. I'm still going Brees Hall. Who would you choose?
I'm going Brees.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
Let's
going
answer
Brees.
this question. Let's
Yeah.
see.
Before we get into my set, there's a viewer question. It says, "Would you trade Lamar, Wicks, and Flacco for Hurts and Noah Gray?" 20 team PPR. My roster is Lamar, Mostert, A. Jones, Tyreek, DJ Moore, Kelsey, and Kirk. Good bench assets: JT, Dortch, JMO, and Wicks. Man,
From values, is this dynasty or something?
I don't know.
Um, from a value standpoint, I'm not making that trade. I'm keeping Lamar Wicks. I mean, who cares about Flacco?
He said it's redraft.
Redraft.
He says
Uh,
Gray. He says Gray's in there as a handcuff in case Kelsey goes down and Flacco, so the other guy can have a QB this week since Lamar's on bye. I'm making the trade.
so you're getting Hurts.
I'm making the trade just because Hurts. I think Hurts is more valuable, especially down the stretch. If you look at Hurts' schedule going the rest of the way, he has Dallas, he has Seattle, he has the Giants twice, and Arizona. I like that schedule if I'm going into the fantasy playoffs.
I don't know. I like Wicks a lot. So I don't know. Like, you know, honestly, I think Watson was going to be one of
He
my
has
sleepers.
he has
You know,
Tyreek and DJ Moore though, so I'm okay with trading Wicks if you're getting one of the best quarterbacks to take you down the stretch of the fantasy playoffs, and it's not any like there's no value going long term with this. It's just a redraft league. It's not dynasty.
yeah. I
And
mean,
then
Hurts plays the Niners, Dallas, Seahawks, Giants, Cardinals, and then Giants again.
yep,
And then uh, Lamar plays. They have a bye this week. Then they play the Rams, Jaguars, 49ers, Miami, and Pittsburgh. I don't know. I think that's about even, but obviously has been the better quarterback. So, I mean, I guess by default, I guess we'll go Hurts. I mean,
Yeah, I would go Hurts. Hurts
just
Hurts is
just
the
by a
better
tad
quarter.
bit, though.
Hurts is the better quarterback with the better playoff schedule. I'm taking Hurts.
Yeah, yeah.
He also
But yeah,
says,
that's tough. That's tough.
do you value Dortch or Wicks more? I value Wicks more than Dortch.
You like Wicks? Because
Yeah,
I got both actually.
I like Wicks more than Dortch.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, Wicks seems like he's going to be more of a weapon. Dortch, I don't know. I honestly don't know why he's actually producing lately. Um,
I just
and
look at
it's only been 13 points and 11 points. Wicks has been explosive.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I'll go Wicks for sure.
I'm going Wicks.
Um,
All right, let's get back into my sit at running back. For my sit, I'm going Kyron Williams. Um, Bad matchup this week. I know he went off last week, but he's going against Cleveland. Cleveland is top 10 against the run. That defense is solid. I know that they have Joe Flacco going, but I think that this game is going to be a battle. I think it's going to be relied on by both quarterbacks to win the game for each team. Um, I don't like either running back in this matchup, so Kyron Williams or Jerome Ford going against either defense. So Kyron Williams is my sit for this week.
nah, I was thinking about Kyron Williams as well. And Miles Garrett, he has no injury anymore. I think Denzel, he's still questionable.
Yeah.
Denzel Ward, but regardless, yeah, I wouldn't start Williams either. I mean, if you have to, then you have to start him. But I think last week was kind of a fluke because that was his first week back, wasn't it? Like and he just goes off. So I don't know, and he's playing against actual, probably the best defense in football. Um, I can if Denzel Ward's going to be out, I can kind of see Matthew Stafford getting a touchdown too, or Puka having a big game. But as far as uh, you know, the check downs and the receiving with Williams and the rushing, I don't think it's going to be there against the Browns.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
And it's everything that I was thinking as well. I just don't like the matchup.
for sure. Um, let's see, wide receivers. So you know, I don't know if we got the same or not. I feel like we kind of do. Who's your start at wide receiver?
My start, and this goes against everything that I've been preaching about matchups, is Rasheed Rice. Um, I just like the involvement that I saw last week. I think he's becoming a trusted weapon for Mahomes, and I think that they are going to start scheming to get him more involved in the game from the passing perspective. So I think you see Rasheed Rice trending upwards towards the end of the season. It's a tough matchup going into Green Bay against Green Bay's defense, but they don't give me as much pause as some other defenses going against their pass defense. I think that they find ways to get him the ball. One thing that I noticed is you see him being more involved in the motion. You see him more involved in more like you know high speed running targets where he is on the move. It's not like go and run a post. It's more so I'm going to get you the ball in stride and get you out, as you saw against Vegas. Um, so I like his involvement. I think he's becoming the number one receiver in that offense, and you see him probably targeted a lot more this game.
No, I don't think that's a bad start. Just because the last games, Green Bay has allowed 62% of completions, which is just inside top 10 for the year. They have been 14th in completion percentage. So, I mean, and Rice had 8 receptions, 107 yards, and 1 touchdown last week against the Raiders. Um, you know, uh, I think. it's the first time we've seen a Chiefs wide receiver who actually has produced at this level in a long time. Outside of Travis Kelsey, which obviously like, Travis Kelsey is a tight end. He seems like he's been kind of struggling lately, Travis Kelsey. So I mean, uh, somebody's got to step up. So if, you know, I think your next best option outside of Kelsey is Rice. So I mean, I don't mind that start at all.
Yep.
So, as far as starting wise, I mean, you can't go wrong with Brandon Ayuk this week. I think I started him a couple times already this year. You're going against Philly. I know it's at Philly, isn't it?
Yep. At Philly.
I know it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a tough game, little game for Brock. But you know, Brandon Ayuk has been clutch all year. And I think he's going to be even more clutch against Philly. I actually got the 49ers in this game. No offense. I know you're a Philly.
Wow.
I
Wow.
know you're a Philly fan. I actually
Wow.
love what Philly's been doing, but I think the 49ers is going to go in there and they're going to, make a statement. So and I think Brandon Ayuk, I'm thinking 2 touchdowns, about 88 yards, maybe like, 6 receptions. I think he's going to have some big plays. So give me Brandon Ayuk. I mean, Philly's one of the worst pass defenses in the league, um, which is surprising to me, but that's one of Philly's weakness. Uh, Give me Brandon Ayuk.
I don't disagree with you. The only thing I disagree is that they're going to win the game. Um, but I do
Jalen
think
Hurts has been clutch. I will say that.
but I do think that I mean I think this is every time I say it's going to be a high scoring game, it's never a high scoring game. But I think both quarterbacks are going to have to rely on their wide receivers to make plays, and you have two defenses that are vulnerable against the pass. So I think it's a matchup for a high powered game, especially from a passing perspective. I like the Brandon Ayuk start. I like every wide receiver start in this game.
I mean, you look at what Stephon Diggs did last week. He only had 6 receptions, 74 yards, 1 touchdown, 19 fantasy points. But still, I think Ayuk does better than that fantasy wise. So I think Ayuk's gonna have a real good game. I mean,
Yeah,
let's look at Ayuk's numbers here. I mean, he's been balling all year.
top 10.
He had 13 points last game, and that was only on 2 receptions,
Right.
26 the week before that, 14 points the week before that. He's always in double digits. And he's been averaging at least 1 touchdown the last 3 games. So he's definitely going to have another touchdown for sure. I don't.
Yep,
He's going to make it 4 straight.
I like it.
Um,
For are you on with your sit?
Yeah, sit. I think this one's pretty easy for me. I'm going Christian Watson. Watson had a big game last week, which, you know, kind of pissed me off because I had him on the bench and he goes off against the Lions, you know, um, which was like about time he goes off. I know he had 10 points against the Chargers, but he has been pretty bad all year. But I think he's gonna be pretty bad this game. I actually think Wicks and Reed is gonna have a better game than Watson will. So yeah, I'm sitting Christian Watson. I know Jordan Love looked great last week, but you know, Casey's pass defense has been pretty solid all year, so I don't think that's going to change this week against the Packers.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't like a lot of Green Bay receivers right now. Jaden Reed might be the only one. Shout out to Mateo. What's up? Thanks for checking in with us.
What up?
Um, for my sit, I'm going with Tank Dell. Um, Injury is a concern. I know that he did practice in limited fashion this week. Going against Denver, probably going to see the Pat Sertan coverage. I just don't like it. Um, it's too much going on right now for me to confidently start Tank Dell. I know that he's been solid over the last couple of weeks, but One with the matchup, and then two with the injury. If I am on the fence of like getting into the playoffs, I don't know if I can risk him getting injured again and also seeing Pat Surtain. So big warning flag for me this week with Tank Dell.
Yeah, I mean, Denver has the last three games only allowed 18 completions. And then you mentioned that he's injured. Uh, but I will say this: if Noah Brown actually plays this week, I think he's going to have a good game. For some reason, I just think for some reason Noah Brown has done well with C.J. Stroud. Tate Dale has been doing well with Stroud, but you know Tank Dell's also hasn't been like that for the entire year. He kind of goes, it's either a really big boom
Boom bust.
or bust. And Denver has been really good defensively lately. Touchdowns. Let's see how many touchdowns they give up. Now I do, kind of like Dalton Schultz. I mean, I didn't have him on my tight ends or anything, but um, because Stroud's going to have somebody to throw to.
Yeah,
Um,
good safety valve.
right. And then if you're talking about touchdowns here, Denver doesn't give up very many of those. You're looking at last three games, one touchdown. They give up one passing touchdown the last three games. So I mean, they have been pretty locked down. So um, I think you could be right there for sure.
Yep.
And then we got some comments here by
Yep.
Mateo.
So me,
Ridley,
re,
McLaurin, Javante Williams.
ooh, that's tough. I'm going with it's tough. I'm going with Javante.
Javante.
Yeah.
Let's see. Um, yeah, I mean, Ridley plays against the Bengals. McLaurin plays against Miami. Javante goes up against the Texans. So yeah, I like Javante as well. I'm going Javante.
Yeah.
He also go ahead.
My only concern is Ridley's been so up and down. You don't know which Ridley you're going to get week to week.
Yep.
Um, it's not that tough of a matchup, but it's just they're going against Cincinnati with Jake Browning, and Jacksonville's defense is stout. If they get up big, do they just start running the ball and don't pass? So like that's my concern there.
No
With
Travis Etienne though, right?
yeah. So I mean, it's like it's really going to be in the game that much for you to start him. McLaurin, he's going to have, I think he's going to have attempts, but he's going against Miami. I just don't see him necessarily having a big game. Javante is the one that I think is going to be used heavily. You're going to get decent volume, quality touches, and I think he has a possibility of getting into the end zone. So I like Javante.
For sure. He also asks Ingram or Taysom Hill at tight end. That's a tough one.
Give me Taysom.
Taysom. I'm gonna go Taysom because you know the Saints are going up against. Okay, this is funny because the Saints are the worst. Well, not the worst, but they're about second or third to last red zone offense in the entire league. Uh, and then, but the Lions are one of the worst red zone defenses in the
Defenses.
league.
Yeah.
So, um, you know, Derek Carr has been heavily criticized for being one of the worst quarterbacks in the red zone. So I actually think, you know, Dennis Allen, Pete Carmichael, they're going to have a huge game plan for Taysom in the red zone, and you will see Taysom in the end zone or be used in the red zone. So he's going to at least get one touchdown of some sort, passing, rushing, whatever. Yeah, I'm going to go with Taysom Hill.
Yeah, I'm going with Taysom. I like the Swiss Army effect for Taysom as well. He has multiple opportunities to get into the end zone, so give me Taysom. We got one more question. This comes from Sports Bro. It's who should I start? Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Higgins, or Jay Downs? Whew, this is tough.
I'm gonna
Watson,
go.
no.
Hey, I'm going Jaden Reed, man. Like I said, I don't think Christian Watson's gonna be it either. I'm pretty sure Higgins is going to struggle with Jake Browning and Jay Downs. He just came back off injury, so I mean, Jaden Daniel, not Jay, Jaden Daniels, Jaden Reed. I think he's had a touchdown in the last two games, if I'm not mistaken. Am
We
I right?
have, yeah, yep.
So I mean, give me that. Give me the touchdown value. I'll always take touchdowns.
It's between Jaden Reed and Jay Downs for me. I'm going to lean to Jaden Reed just because of what he's done over the last couple of weeks. He's trending up. So, yeah, Jaden Reed. But I like Jay Downs as well this week just because of the matchup going against Tennessee. But give me Jaden Reed over Jay Downs.
I actually got a question for you. I know Demario Douglas is out this week, but for the rest of the year, would you rather have Jaden Reed or Demario Douglas?
Jaden Reed.
Okay, because they're two similar players as far as they're both rookie wide receivers, and they kind of sort of came on late fantasy wise.
I
So,
like Jaden Reed because of his quarterback situation
yeah,
over the New
their
England
situation,
quarterback situation. They can't get
right?
they can't get anybody into the end zone. But I do like Devontae Parker this weekend. That's one of my sleepers. Put my stamp on it. If you need somebody, Devontae Parker this weekend.
Well, he also says Reed is questionable. Hey, if Reed doesn't go, heck, I would even pick uh Wicks over some of them guys you just listed, and
I'm not
that's
picking Wicks over Jay Downs.
okay. Yeah, I kind of agree with that, but Wicks would be number two for me out of that rotation.
I like Devontae Parker as a sleeper this week.
Ooh,
If you need somebody,
Devontae,
I like Devontae Parker.
because Douglas is out,
Douglas is
Jay's
out.
out.
Yeah, and they're going against the Chargers,
Yep, one of the worst pass
one of the
defenses in the
worst
league.
defenses in the league
So
at
Bailey
home.
Zappi starting, right?
Yeah, Bailey Zappi starting, but
Hey, you know,
Reed is our pick. So I know he's questionable. I think he does play. Reed is our pick, but I would have Jay Downs after Reed and then Wicks,
sure.
or if you need somebody, Devontae Parker.
Um, who is going to be your sit for a wide receiver?
Oh man, I just had it up. Uh, my sit for this week. I went through it. It's tanked out.
Oh yeah, okay,
Tanked out.
okay. Then okay, we're going in tight ends now, all right?
Yeah, tight ends.
Tight ends. You want to go first with your start?
Yeah, I'm gonna go first, and it was somebody that you already mentioned. It was Dalton Schultz. So
Right. I mean I don't have him on my list, so I mean
yeah, Dalton Schultz was my start. Like I said, you got Pat Sertan out there. Denver has one of the toughest pass defenses. CJ's going to have to get the ball somewhere. I think it's going to be Singletary. I think you're going to see him lean on Dalton Schultz as well over the middle. So Dalton Schultz is my start just because of all those factors that are coming into play. Them playing against a tough, hot Denver team right now. I think that they are going to have to lean on Singletary and possibly Schultz as well from a passing perspective.
would you rather Dalton Schultz, Jawan Johnson, or Tyler Crocklin? Schultz, right?
Schultz.
For sure. Because that's who I got to start this week. I had Mark Andrews, but he got hurt. I did pick up Isaiah Likely, but I think Schultz might be
He's
my
on
best
bye.
option. Yeah, Likely is on bye. So, yeah, I think Schultz might be my best option for the rest of the year unless something pops off on waiver wire. Um, my start of the week, my tight end start of the week is Sam Laporta. Um, Going up against the New Orleans Saints. This game might get ugly in my opinion. Being a Saints fan, I know all about their struggles. Um, the defense is not as good as earlier in the year, especially since Marshawn Lattimore has been down. You also had a few more injuries to the list. Their old defense, no Cam Jordan. And we kind of struggle against the tight end. TJ Hawkinson tore us up. I think Sam Laporta, he might not get over 4 receptions, but I know he's probably very likely to get a touchdown. I could see him with, about 60 to 70 yards. I think Sam Laporta is a great start. and he's been a great star all year. I'm glad I traded for the guy in one of my serious leagues. He's the main reason why I've been winning. So yeah, give me Sam Laporta.
Yeah, I like Laporta too. Just how much he's been involved in that offense as
Yeah,
as a rookie. Yeah, give me Sam Laporta all week,
and
every week.
the Saints have one of the worst pass rush defenses in the league, and you're going up against a team that doesn't give up sacks. So, Jared Goff, if you want to start him as well, I think he's going to have a good game as well, passing the ball. He's going to have all the time in the world. So I mean, um, you know, you know. I kind of like Ahmad St. Brown, but I will say Paulson Adebo has been coming on real good, like one of the best corners as of late. Um, so I don't know, but I still like golf because he's got all these weapons.
Yeah,
So they don't even have to pass the ball; they can just run it if they wanted to. So, which I think that benefits Sam Laporta, with play action and all that stuff, running the ball.
yeah.
So,
Who's your
so
sit?
my sit, man. So this might surprise everyone right here because he had a great game last week, and a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers fans were very happy with
No,
the offensive
you're taking
performance.
my sit.
Oh, you're taking a sit.
No,
Okay,
go ahead, go ahead. I have another one.
Pat Fairmouth, man. I'm gonna sit him against Arizona. Arizona is actually pretty solid against tight ends defensively. They've had their struggles, but just because the Steelers sort of had you know a solid production offensively, I think they might go stale this week. I think the Cardinals might win. Actually, it might be one of the surprise wins here. Gannon's a defensive coach, so he's always going to look for a defensive edge. I think Murray's going to have a big game against Pittsburgh as well. So I think Pat Fairmouth, who's being very hyped up, uh, I don't think he's going to even. I would be surprised if he even gets over 40 yards of receiving. And I think he'll get about like 2 receptions, 2 or 3 receptions. That's my guess there.
Uh, it wouldn't surprise me, and I agree with you here. My thing is, I think that Pittsburgh's going to be running the ball. Um, it's going to be a big Najee and Jalen Warren game. I don't. I think you do see Pickens and Deontay involved, but I don't. If you're expecting the game that you got last week for Firemouth, it's not going to happen.
Nope.
Um,
He
and I
was
think
tied in one last week.
yeah, they exploited a matchup that I think everybody knew was available in there. So it's not going to be as easy against Arizona, even though Arizona's defense isn't that great. They do not give up a lot of points to tight ends. They're more vulnerable against wide receivers and running backs. So I think you're going to see them exploit that. They have the running backs and the wide receivers to, you know, make them look good enough to win that game. So I think you're going to see them use Jalen Warren, Najee, Deontay, and Pickens, not so much Firemouth.
For sure, and I totally agree with that. So if you spent a lot of fab money on him, I'm sorry, man. I think you might have made a mistake there. You know, anyways, defenses.
Oh,
You
hold on.
get
I didn't give my sit.
Oh, my bad. I thought Pat Fairmouth was you said. My bad. Go ahead. Go ahead.
He was, but I'm going to go with Kate Otten. Um, I
I
know
was I was
Kate.
thinking about picking him too.
Yeah, Cade's going against Carolina. Carolina is top 5 against tight ends in fantasy. My issue here is I think the Bucks are going to be up in this game. It's going to be Mike Evans. It's going to be Chris Godwin, and it's going to be a heavy dosage of Rashad White. I think Rashad White's going to have a big game going against this defense because their front line is weak. So I think they're going to minimize Baker's impact on the game and just get the ball to Rashad White, get him involved in the pass game, easy dump offs, and runs, up the middle against that defensive line. So I don't think you see K Dot get involved too much in this game. So hope you have other options.
Right, and I was thinking about going Kate Otten as well, and he's been good as of late. But like I mentioned earlier, Carolina's defense actually has been pretty well um, in the past. I don't think Jake Ferguson had a good game against Carolina. I think it was a pretty subpar game. So I wouldn't start Kate Otten either, and especially if I expect Baker Mayfield to not have a great fantasy game as well. So I think it's gonna be very low scoring as well. Obviously, Carolina's offense is not the greatest either, but you never know. After they fire majority of their staff, they might that might spark something in them. But
Yeah, that was my only concern, but I just don't know if that team can turn it around.
nah, it's pretty bad over there in Carolina. And in fact, I got Tampa Bay's defense as my start. So I mean, I
Same
think,
here.
yeah, I mean it's an obvious pick, right? Um, you got. I mean, I spent probably $10 a fab picking up Tampa Bay's defense. Just if you want to make the playoffs and if you want to get these wins, that's and you're heading towards the end of the year anyway, so you might as well just spend the rest of your fab as much as you can to get the best matchups.
Yep.
So Um, did you have any other starts defensively?
Miami going against Washington.
Miami.
I think Miami has a big game. Um, I mean, we've said everything on here already. I just Washington is a pretty bad team right now. How yes, he is a gunslinger. He is gonna get the ball out. They may score, but I think Miami's defense gets home on that offensive line. You could possibly see some turnovers, possibly a defensive touchdown. I just like the opportunity there for Miami. So fire up Miami for me.
Yeah. And this might sound crazy. Just because as of late, Denver has had a good success defensively, but I'm actually choosing to sit Denver. Just because CJ Stroud, this is their best quarterback they're going to play all year, in my opinion. And yeah, I even say it, even over Patrick Mahomes. Um, you know, CJ Stroud, you look at it, Denver played Cleveland, Minnesota, a struggling Josh Allen at the time, and you know Patrick Mahomes was also kind of struggling when they played against them. So, they didn't do well against a Jordan Love, So I mean, I think CJ Stroud is going to have the best quarterback performance Denver has allowed all season. So I'm sitting Denver's defense
Okay, I don't disagree with you there. I think it's going to be a tough game for CJ and the team, but I can understand why you would sit Denver's defense going against Houston and what CJ's been able to do.
for sure. And I know we say the tank. You said sit Tank Dell. I mean, I still think CJ Stroud's gonna have some production. Singletary, he could have a good game as well. So I mean, um, and the thing is, I don't think Denver gets any turnovers. I think the Texans they might throw one interception, but you know I think Denver's a team that doesn't fumble the ball much either.
Yeah,
So um, I mean Houston. I don't think Houston's a team that fumbles the ball that much.
yeah,
So
they protect the ball.
they protect the ball. So I mean, I think you said Denver's. I don't. Denver might not have a bad defensive game, but fantasy wise, they might only get about like 3 to 6 points, and that's not. You know, if you're looking on your waiver wire, there's probably a better option there. So
Yeah.
in terms of matchup,
So my sit for this week is San Fran. Um,
oh,
Obvious reasons. Bad matchup on the road. Their secondary has not been great. I know that their front seven is pretty stout, but I think it's just going to be an offensive high power matchup on both sides. I do think you see Philly exploit their secondary. So I'm sitting San Fran, and you're going against one of the best offensive lines in football right now. So it's not going to be easy to get home against that offensive line, a mobile quarterback, and a team that likes to run the ball. To keep you honest, so I'm sitting the Niners.
Who? Okay, if you had a guess, who's the number one team in the last 3 games to allow the least amount of passing touchdowns in the last 3 games?
Because you asked that question, I'm going to say San Fran.
Right, San Francisco. Literally the last 3 games, and who were their matchups the last 3 games? I don't. It might have been nobody of that's any good.
Their last three matchups, I'll tell you in 1 second. Um, Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, Seattle.
Pretty subpar offenses, I guess. Um, they have only allowed .3 of a touchdown the last 3 games. That's number one in the entire league. So I don't know. What's your over under on an AJ Brown touchdown?
I'm taking the over.
You're
It's
taking
point
the over.
if it's .5, I'm taking the over.
.5 taking the over. So I'm definitely not thinking Devontae Smith's going to have a good game,
I think he's
but
going to have a great game.
you think Devontae's going to have a great game?
Yep.
I don't know, man. This is something we might have to bet on
I'm
this.
telling you, there. So the Jacksonville game is the only game that surprised me as far as their secondary shutting a team down. But as we all know, Jacksonville has struggled on offense from a passing perspective. Sorry, to get the ball into the end zone. Trevor Lawrence has struggled. He's come on over the last 2 weeks, but it doesn't surprise me that their defense shut him down. It doesn't surprise me that they shut Tampa Bay down. Seattle has been so up and down, and Geno has just been kind of like all over the place. He had a great game last night, but doesn't surprise me that they had a great game against Seattle as well. So I understand, but for the majority of the year, their defense has been pretty mediocre. They're going against one of the best offenses in the league right now. So I think Devontae has a great game. And this isn't just me speaking as a Philly fan. I
Right,
think
right, right.
Devontae has a great game. I think AJ has a great game. They don't have a tight end right now, so they're going to have to use their wide receivers. I think DeAndre Swift is the biggest question mark for me because do they utilize him in the pass game? I think if they utilize him in the pass game, they're going to have success. Um, because I don't think a lot of teams can cover DeAndre Swift out of the backfield. So there's a lot of unknowns here, and I know this is a great defense going against a great offense. I just think the offense wins out. I think San Francisco's offense is going to have to match with Philly at home on the road in order for them to beat them, which is why I would say sit San Francisco's defense.
Is Dallas Goddard playing?
No,
No, he's not. Wow. Um, well, I will say this could be a big Jalen Hurts game for sure.
definitely.
And I think he'll definitely get the rush attempts, and I think he'll at least have one rushing touchdown. If I'm betting the over on that, I'm betting the .5 on that over one
Yep.
rushing touchdown. Uh, I don't know, man. It's gonna be a good game. I think it's what is it? The game of the week?
Yeah.
It's
Of
got to
course.
be right.
Of course.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm definitely be watching for sure. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Hill said bias.
Bias.
Not at
Uh,
all, Hill. This is just fantasy analysis. I think Purdy has a great game too. I think Purdy's gonna have a great game. I
yeah,
think
I
I
think that Purdy IU connection is going to be very great.
I think
I think who has a better game, AJ Brown or Brandon Ayuk? I think Brandon Ayuk has a better game.
I think AJ Brown has a better game.
Really,
Yeah.
because for one, I think Brandon Ayuk's going against the worst pass defense.
And
Because at least the 49ers they level out to about mid here.
here's the difference for me. When I'm looking at the offenses, San Francisco has Ayuk, they have Debo, they have Kittle, they have McCaffrey. On our side, it's AJ, it's Devontae. There's no Dallas Goddard and DeAndre Swift.
Uh-huh.
There's less opportunity for Brandon Ayuk on that side than there is for AJ Brown on our side. So I say AJ Brown's going to have the better game, but it's because he has less. There's less mouths to feed in Philly's offense right now. I think you're going to see them get AJ Brown into motion. I think you're going to see him line up in the slot. He's going to be over the middle. Um, I just think they're going to get him more involved in this game. But I do think Devontae has a good game too. So if it's between those two, Ayuk or AJ, give me AJ for this game.
I think you look at what Buffalo was able to do against AJ Brown. I think, I think it's a good chance that it would be the same way against the 49ers.
He scored a touchdown last week.
I don't think he gets a touchdown.
He's
I
he's he scored a touchdown last week. Hold on.
Yeah, but you only had 5 receptions for 37 yards.
Sometimes you have to take what you get. So I don't think he's going to have 5 receptions for 37 yards this week. I mean, name me who on San Francisco that can shut down AJ Brown.
I mean, I don't know,
You
man.
can't. you can't.
I don't know. We'll have to see. I just think the 49ers just have been good as of late. I'm telling you. I think
I agree.
this is a revenge game.
I agree.
Hill says, "You sure?" Which one?
I'm sure.
All right.
Sure.
We'll revisit this next week. We'll see what happens.
We will.
AJ Brown. I'm definitely taking Brandon Ayuk over AJ Brown. I'm starting if I had to choose between the two, I'm starting Ayuk over.
Don't get me
AJ
wrong.
Brown.
I'm starting Ayuk. I have Ayuk in the
Okay.
league. I'm starting him. This is not a sit situation for Ayuk. I'm starting Ayuk, but
if
I'm
you had to
starting
choose
AJ
between
Brown.
the two, you would start Ayuk over Brown.
I'm starting AJ Brown over Ayuk.
Oh man,
I'm starting AJ Brown over Ayuk.
Oh my gosh! All right. We'll see. We'll see who has the better game for sure.
Who's the better receiver?
I mean, AJ Brown's the better wide receiver, but if you look at his last 2 games, he's on a cold streak. He really is. I mean, Ayuk has been pretty darn consistent all year, and he's going against one of the worst pass defenses he's played all year. I think he's going to have a huge game. It's going to be a revenge game for sure. I think the 49ers, kind of similar. I don't know if it be close, to be honest with you. I don't know.
Wow, are you saying that this game is going to be a blowout?
I don't know, man. I mean, the Eagles kind of struggled against the Bills last week. I mean, I don't know.
All right, now I'm about to get biased. Let me sign off before I get biased.
Man, I don't know. I think it's gonna be a good game. I'm just kidding. I think it's gonna be a good game, but I think the 49ers win, and I think Brandon Ayuk's gonna have a better game.
I'm not mad at that. I think wow.
Hill says Ayuk easily. He agrees
wow,
with
he's a Cowboys fan though.
me.
Bias much, Hill?
That is true. He is a Cowboys fan. I bet he's real happy about his Cowboys. Do you think Dak is an MVP?
No.
Oh.
No. I'm sorry. Yes, great quarterback play, hasn't beat really a top 10 team yet this season. So if they beat us in Dallas, I think he's in that MVP conversation. But I haven't seen them beat high level competition yet for him to be in that conversation yet.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess we'll have to see how the rest of the season plays out and who wins the actual division, although Philly's up top right now. But like I said, with the 49ers win on Sunday, I think the Cowboys might creep up. We'll see.
There's still a lot of football left, and Dallas has a pretty tough schedule coming up down the stretch. So I think if they can continue to win and win high quality games, you'll see that creep up more into that MVP conversation. I just think right now, with us being 10-1, we've beat top level competition. Hurts is squarely in that conversation right now. I think he's in the driver's seat. So Like, I don't think Dak has done enough to overtake Hurts in that conversation.
No, I agree. And I got one more question for you. If you had fantasy wise, if you had to choose AJ Brown or CD Lamb fantasy wise, who you choosing for the rest of the year?
I'm going CD.
Ooh, okay.
I'm going CD. Just because of CD's involvement in that offense, he's like they are funneling targets to CD.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and like I said, their offense is high power. Don't get me wrong. They've been going against lesser competition right now, so they've been putting up a lot of points. So give me CD. I like CD. And like I said, just his involvement in that offense compared to what AJ is doing, um, I like CD.
I like CD too. Um, anyways, you got anything else to put out there, or because I
I
don't got
think
anything else.
I think we covered enough content for the people. If they're not ready for Week 13, we can't help them anymore. So
I know it's a Friday. If you're not ready by now, then I mean you're pretty much screwed, in my opinion. Um, this is the time to not to screw up. This is the time, crunch time. This is like December football. This is
th-
where it all matters.
this is the time to make educated decisions. Like, if your star player isn't performing the way that he should be, that you drafted him to, and you have somebody on your bench that has a great matchup that's been playing well over the last few weeks, time to make an educated decision. Put that guy into your lineup.
This time of the year separates from the elites and just your average Joe. And if you're average Joe, man, like maybe they'll be the ones crying, and you know, there's no crying in fantasy. So we'll get this wrapped up, and next week we'll see what happens with that 49ers Eagles game.
We'll
See who
see.
comes out top.
We'll see.
All right.
All right, Sean. See you next week. There's no
All right.
crying in fantasy.